Okay, hello everyone. Happy International Women's Day and welcome to this evening. And thank you for joining us and celebrating with us. I'm going to read the land acknowledgement. I wish to acknowledge that Ottawa is located on unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. I would like to honor the land and the peoples of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation, whose ancestors have lived on this territory for millennia, and whose culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. Il est important de souligner que la ville d'Ottawa est située sur un territoire non cédé de la nation algonquine Anishinaabe. J'aimerais honorer les terres et les peuples de la nation algonquine Anishinaabe, donc les ancêtres ont vécu sur ce territoire durant des millénaires et dont la culture et la présence ont enrichi et continué d'enrichir ces terres. Merci. I'd like to welcome everybody from far and wide, and I'll give a special shout out to two counselors that are here. I see David Hill. Thank you, David, for coming out. I understand you were going to bring your daughters as well, so they may be listening in. And that's wonderful. Thank you very much. It's great to have my colleagues here. And Stéphanie Plante est peut-être ici, c'est pas dans mon écran maintenant, mais peut-être elle est là. I can't see her on the screen, but it's not showing everybody because it's it takes in just so many spaces. Okay, so we're talking today about this year's International Women's Day theme of Embrace Equity. This year's theme is Embrace Equity, with the hashtag Embrace Equity, sparking discussions on why equal opportunities are no longer enough, and to raise awareness that equity and equality are inherently different concepts. Equality means individuals or groups of people are given the same resources or opportunities. Equity recognizes that each person has different lived experiences and circumstances, needing different resources and opportunities to reach an equal amount. We need to have people talking about why equal opportunities aren't enough. Forging gender equity isn't limited to women solely. Fighting the good fight, allies are incredibly important for the social, economic, cultural, and political advancement of women. I'm just going to read a little bit of what the city has done so far. The city's women and gender equity strategy was designed with equity as a guiding principle, and as a municipal government, we are making progress in making meaningful change, including integrating a gender lens in the city's official plan, which was the first time, impacting how the city prioritizes the needs of women and gender diverse persons, standardizing the use of Indigenous gender and equity implication sections in all reports to committees and council, ensuring that the diverse needs of intersectional groups are considered by staff during the development and implementation of city initiatives, launching the Lead It strategy hiring process to prioritize hiring candidates from employment equity groups, including women, allocating gender-based funding to benefit community organizations serving women and gender diverse persons, installing 200 gender inclusive signs in public single stall washrooms in more than 80 City of Ottawa recreation facilities, launching the Period Pack Project, an innovative initiative to address period poverty for improving access to menstrual products. As phase one of the strategy concludes this month, we can reflect on the achievements made to date and look forward to phase two, which will be designed in partnership with our communities in 2023. I'm now going to introduce our host for this evening. I'm very proud to introduce Sam LaPrade. You probably know her very well. Many of you know her show on City News, The Sam LaPrade Show, An Hour to Give. This show highlights nonprofit organizations in the Ottawa area, providing an outlet for them to tell their stories and talk about the amazing work they do to change and save lives locally. Sam has over 30 years of work experience in the nonprofit sector, public relations, media relations, and municipal politics. After graduating from Algonquin College with a PR diploma, Sam has given an opportunity to work at CBC Radio, then CBC TV, which has hooked her and led her to coordinating telethons and events. Sam Laprade loves to connect people. She is also widely recognized in Ottawa's charity community. As a professional fundraiser, Sam works closely with generous donors to impact some of the most vulnerable people in our community. Sam has raised funds for important charities in her community, such as the Ottawa Hospital Foundation, Ottawa Humane Society, the Mission, Ottawa Mission, and the Boys and Girls Club of Ottawa. Sam is a fundraising strategist for her own company and marketing director for Griffin Fundraising, among other things. She has tailored her services exclusively for non-for-profit offerings, making them access to tools such as analytics to help them inform decisions and actions in ways that improves community connections and impact. Something that many people don't know about Sam is she's also a stand-up comedian. I don't know if she's going to do that tonight. Infusing humor and passion into everything she does. Something that I didn't know. She believes in the possibilities that are endless as you want them to be. She's a trailblazer and an advocate when it comes to embracing equity and lifting up others to reach their goals. I'm privileged whenever I am invited to join Sam on her show to talk about important issues that impact our community. So I'm going to pass it over to Sam. I'll say no more, but thank you, Sam, again for taking the time to join us.
Well, you just made my whole International Women's Day. Honestly, that was very lovely for you to share all of that with everybody. And I always enjoy having you on. And the leadership of yourself, Councillor Kavanagh, and the leadership of Ariel Troster today in terms of the motion to declare intimate partner violence as an epidemic. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your leadership on that. And I'd love to introduce everybody now. It's my honor to welcome Ariel Troster, Councillor Troster. Hello, Councillor.
Hello.
Of course, Councillor Troster is the councillor for Somerset Ward, which covers LeBreton Flats, of course, the Golden Triangle, Chinatown, Centertown, Little Italy, downtown Ottawa. You have a really fun ward.
I do. And, you know, fun fact, it's only 6 kilometers square. It is the smallest geographic ward and the most densely populated. And I like to say we have the best food, although I know other councillors are going to fight me on it. I think we should eat all the food in all the wards. But
that's awesome. And of course, leading the Women and Gender Equity file as Teresa started that, and Ariel picking up the torch there. Worked in the nonprofit and labor sectors, communications, policy campaign specialist. Prior to running for office, she worked with communities across Canada at the FCM, which we appreciate very much. I love that organization. As a volunteer, Ariel has helped sponsor and support refugees and asylum seekers with Rainbow Haven, learning firsthand how hard it can be to find affordable housing and mental health resources in our city. Ariel holds a BA in journalism and history and a graduate diploma of community economic development and an MA in feminist and gender studies. And she is on the radio and TV all the time, which I'm so grateful for as well. Really a real leader. Thank you so much, Ariel, for being here. We've got some great questions for you. I'm going to introduce some of the other panelists today. Renee Amilcar, how are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's so lovely to see you. And I have to say, we are so impressed that you're joining us. Tell us what time it is your time, Renee.
Now it's 1:12 a.m. in Milan.
In Milan. And Renee so graciously has got up in the middle of the night, or maybe hasn't gone to bed yet, to spend time with us. She's attending a very important transportation conference. And of course, Renee is the general manager of the new Transit Services Department. She took up that position in October of 2021. And Renee, of course, is an industrial engineer with a degree from Polytechnique in Montreal and an MBA from the University of Sherbrooke. After working for Pratt & Whitney Canada and Nortel Networks, Renee joined the STM in 2002 and quickly rose through the ranks to become the first female director of bus maintenance. That's awesome. I love it. Fantastic. Wonderful.
Thank you.
And of course, it was that role that Renee first earned a reputation as an exemplary public servant and with a strong capability to understand operational issues and manage and engage multiple teams. She was promoted to the executive director of bus services for the STM in 2014. She was responsible for more than, get ready for this number, 5,300 employees delivering services on a fleet of 1,800 buses and paratransport services. Renee, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we wanted to spend some time today with Elvina Yuso. Elvina, are you here?
Yes.
You are here. Look at you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How about you?
Lovely to spend time with you today. I'm so pleased that that Elvina is joining us. She's attending grade 11 at Notre Dame High School. She has an older sister and a role model to 3 younger sisters. Can you imagine that household? That's incredible. That's awesome. And she's active with the BGC Ottawa, the Ron Colbus Clubhouse member, and she participates in leadership programs such as Leader for Life and Raise the Grade. In addition, she volunteers at the clubhouse by helping in the kitchen, assisting with programs and mentoring younger members. She loves listening to music, me too, crocheting, painting, and playing basketball in her free time. And we're so happy that Elvina has joined us as well today. So we have a great panel for you, and we've got great questions. So this is an opportunity to get to know our panelists a little bit more. Elvina, I'm going to start with you. I'd love to know from you how you define embracing equity. What does that mean to you?
I think to me, embracing equity is being able to acknowledge the fact that everyone isn't being held to the same standards and level, and like everyone has like different stories and uniqueness and like stuff like that. And it's also like continuously looking for ways to embrace inclusion and diversity, and also realizing that there are like certain challenges and barriers that we have to go through, and like they're right there that exist based on who you are and like your gender.
That makes me feel a lot better about our future, because you're going to lead the way. We're going to be okay with that kind of feedback. Thank you so much. Renee, talk to me a little bit about how you define embracing equity.
Embracing equity for me, it's a word that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive for sure. It as well a word where we can celebrate and value the differences. A world where we accept approaches may need some flexibility. And I would like to maybe say as well that our industry, public transit, is a good model where the equity is a key to achieve our goals.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. And I know Councillor Troster's thinking about this question as well. I'll pose it to you. How do you define embracing equity?
Thank you. Well, embracing equity for me is, there was one of our speakers at the International Women's Day breakfast at City Hall had a great expression this morning where she said, equality is giving everyone a shoe and equity is giving everyone a shoe that fits. And so it's understanding that we all come from different backgrounds. We have different privileges, experiences. We might have disabilities. We might have grown up in poverty, but that everybody deserves a chance to thrive. And some of us need different supports than others. And that it's really important that we ensure that people who have the biggest challenges receive the most support, because that creates an equitable community. So, somebody else said today, and this is something I often say, that when we cater to and support the most marginalized people in our community, we actually make a better city for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. I'd love to know, Elvina, the answer to this question. I think about being 16 years old. I think about being grade 11. I just worried about how high I could get my hair back then. I wasn't focused on all the amazing things you are, which is, of course, volunteering and giving back to your community. So what or who, it could be a who or it could be a what, it could be both, inspired you to be a leader?
So like I said before, I have 3 little sisters, and though like they inspired me to be a leader today, because growing up I felt like we didn't have as much role models, especially as women, to show us like the struggles we have to go through, and it wasn't really realistic. Like for example, with celebrities, they show you how to be successful and stuff like that, but they don't show the setbacks that we have to go through and stuff like that. And especially as a Black African woman, there's basic like gender roles, like, oh, I have to be like a housewife or like do kitchen duties and stuff like that. But I don't want to give my sisters that vision. I want them to be who, like, make a name for themselves. And I think it starts from being a good role model to them and showing them how to achieve that. And
Wow. Wow. Your sisters are going to be very grateful for that kind of leadership with them as well. And Renee, let me ask you, obviously you've held some really important roles. You've broken some glass ceilings. Who and what's the driver there for you?
If I have to name a who, it will be Michelle Obama for sure, because she inspires me a lot. But I would like to say as well, because it's March 8th today, and I'm in Milan, and I'm attending to the conference of the International Union of Public Transport. And the UITP has done a lot of things for women. First, the oblige to have 50-50 for all the events, 50 women, 50 men. And by doing that, they double the presence of women on all of the activities, so which is great. And the staff represents 54%. 54% of the staff is women, so which is good as well. And I'm very, very proud of that, because they definitively are a good example, and they preach by act, because sometimes people can say, oh, I would like to have this and I would like to have that, but the UITP said they were going to do something, they did it, and they succeed. So for me, it's very great.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. And Ariel, when we think about your who and your what in terms of inspiring you to be a leader, what comes to mind?
So I was really lucky. My first job in Ottawa was working with an incredible woman named Maud Barlow, who some of you might know, who's a very long time activist for social justice. And so I was young, I was in my mid-20s. I moved to Ottawa 20 years ago. And I got to work with this incredible, legendary leader who had brought international trade agreements to their knees. And it was very funny, though, because, she had a certain amount of privilege. So she would also joke about how when she went into the important meetings, she would put on her pearls, which is funny because I put on my lipstick, but I actually put on my lipstick all the time. But then something I also really admire about Maud is quite recently I helped, she wrote a memoir, and I helped host her book launch. And she actually was so introspective and looked back on her own feminism from the 80s and 90s and was able to say, we made some mistakes. We were not as inclusive as we could have been. When we were working on domestic violence, we really wanted the police to charge abusers in every single scenario. And now we realize that that was a carceral approach, and that the court system and that policing is not necessarily the solution to stopping intimate partner violence. So I just really respected her hopefulness. And also she was a wonderful mentor and has been so lovely to me. And my other source of inspiration are the newcomer women that I've had the opportunity to meet and work with as part of my experience as a refugee sponsor. Like my friend Sarah and her partner Hala, they left Syria literally with sniper fire at their back, moved to Turkey, fell in love, moved to Canada after it took us 5 years to bring them to Canada as refugees. And now they're doing wonderfully. Their kids are doing wonderfully. And just the bravery, first of all, to leave a country in the middle of war, to come to another country as a refugee, to be an out lesbian couple who loves each other, and to come here with their children. And now, taking them to their first Pride was the best experience of my life. Wow. And just seeing the incredible resilience of women who arrive here with nothing and
Mhm.
with the right supports can really thrive. To me, that's the biggest inspiration.
Mhm. Beautifully said. I'm going to go off script a little bit, and Councillor Kavanaugh, I'd love to know. I know you're not in the panel, but I want to know who inspired you, because I know it's a big list.
Wow. I guess at a young age, I'll say my big sister. She was 10 years older than me. She still is around, by the way. I've got 3 sisters. I got lots of sisters. Yeah, my big sister was in university when I was still in grade school. And she used to get Ms. Magazine, and I used to read it. I was just a little kid. And I was like, what's going on? You know, like it just woke me up to, oh, there's these things going on. And that there's something out there that we have to know about. So I think that was a big help. I worked on Parliament Hill. I saw some amazing women. I worked there for almost 30 years. And probably one of the bravest ones I saw was Alexa McDonough,
Yeah.
who just passed away last year. And she was a trailblazer. She was a member of the Nova Scotia legislature when they didn't even have a women's bathroom for legislatures, for the MLAs. So it was a first, and she just broke barriers. She became a leader, and in at the federal level for the NDP, and she just had a lot of energy and really cared. I saw her a few years ago and spent some time with her, and we were going somewhere, and we went to a public bathroom, and rushing around, getting, going to a dinner. And I turned around and she was wiping the counter and cleaning it, and because somebody had left it as a mess, and she was cleaning, saying, this is a former leader, of a party. And, she just, like she just respected that, oh, you have to leave things nice, and she wanted to leave it nice for the next person. And I was like, that's so cute.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so there's some amazing women. I could make a big list, but that's the one that sticks out, since I wasn't expecting to answer that question, but there you go.
I know I was surprising you, but I also knew you'd have an answer. And it's so interesting because Maud Barlow and Alexa McDonough are on my list as well, a long list, and I love that those names came up tonight. Alvina, we're back to you, and I wanted to get your feeling on how women can support other women, for instance, at school. How does that happen at your school?
I'm like at school, I would say a way to support women is supporting each other's goals, or like looking out for each other and helping each other with like work, or just giving each other advices. And also, like, society has made us women to like go against each other and like fight each other and stuff like that. I think it's better if we support each other by actually looking out for each other and helping each other rather than fighting each other. Yes.
Beautifully said. And Renee, I just I'm amazed at the long list of accomplishments that you've had, and at work, women supporting women, especially in an industry and a sector that wasn't, especially when you started, full of other women. So tell us how women can support each other in your shop, for instance.
Thank you, Sam. I think the network is very, very important. And women has to be a model as well, by nominate maybe other women on key positions.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say that a man gave me my first chance.
Mm-hmm.
That man believed in me and took the risk to put me on a key position where no one before has done that. And I think we have to appreciate that as well. We have to know that we are co-workers. It's not a thing, women versus men, but definitively women can be good support for other women. But we have to believe as well that a man can be a very good one as well, as I I just said, and I believe on that because he believed on me and he put me on that position a few years ago, and because of that, I'm here where I am today.
Wonderfully said. And Councillor Troster, when I think about women supporting other women, I look around that council table, and it's not too long ago that there wasn't as many women as there are today, in terms of supporting each other, coming together, a lot of new councillors around the table, including yourself. How's the support happening there at City Hall?
I have to say it's been absolutely great. And first of all, Councillor Kavanaugh, she's like,
yeah.
What did you say? I'm this council grandma. You're
Mama
like
Teresa.
Mama Teresa. So she's been a wonderful support. And I have to say, it has been really wonderful. And actually not just with women councillors, with a lot of the new class, including Councillor Hill, who's on this call. We've been doing a lot of checking in with each other. So, like I had a really tough motion that I was working on about Wellington Street at Transportation Committee, and I was really working to get it right. And I was getting texts from other women members in the middle of the committee saying, "You're doing a great job. You did so much work on this," so that's really wonderful. When I see another councillor is dealing with harassment or trash online, I immediately text them to make sure they're okay and speak out against it. And we also really try to amplify each other's voices and give credit to each other, right? So I really try to amplify the work of my colleagues to say, thank you for Teresa for working on this motion on intimate partner violence with me. And thank you to Lane Johnson for helping to negotiate another $1 million to our affordable housing capital spend. I think we should share the credit so that we can help amplify other folks. And I also think supporting women is also about learning when not to take up the space. I'm a Jewish woman, I'm a queer woman, I'm young-ish for city council, but I still have a lot of privilege. And so I try to think a lot about what voices are missing, who should be at the table, and when should I cede that space to a Black woman, an Indigenous woman, a trans woman, a disabled woman, because we're doing pretty well at City Hall, but we can do a lot better. So I don't want to be speaking for people. I want to ensure that we're amplifying a multiplicity of voices. So I'm happy to say it's been a very supportive environment so far, and I'm very thankful for that.
That's wonderful to hear. I don't know if anyone you saw recently, there was a meme and it was on TV, and it was Jamie Lee Curtis when a woman had won an award, and she was cheering it was so much for the winner. And people were really using that as an example of, can you imagine if we all cheered like that for women? And I thought that was a beautiful.
I think it's Julie Lalonde talks about shine theory, which is like, so she's another woman that I super admire in the community, does amazing work against street harassment. And she talks about shine theory, like really help other people shine, promote them, get excited for their accomplishments. Let's not encourage a culture of jealousy. Like we can all succeed and we can all support each other. And I think that's just a much more compassionate approach to politics and also just to community, right?
I'm a big fan of Julie Lalonde as well. I have her on my show. I have her on the Daily Show quite a bit. So yeah, she's wonderful. Alvina, we're coming back to you. We haven't forgotten about you. Don't you worry. We're coming back to you to talk a little bit about gender bias. If you were to tell us, give us sort of instructions on how we stop doing that. How do we stop gender bias in your mind?
I think first off, gender bias, we have to realize that it actually does happen, because there's some people who think that it doesn't exist. Like they're not like barriers for men and women, but there is. So we have to understand that there really is gender bias going on. And a way to stop it is, how do I put this? Stop limiting women and men, limiting things from each other. So treating each other equal and giving each other the same opportunities like we would give everyone else.
Beautifully said. The future is safe with Alvina at the helm, that's for sure. That's awesome. Renee, talk to me a little bit about gender bias. Is this something that that you faced, and what suggestions would you have?
I agree with Alvina, and I think we have to name it. By naming it, we welcome it, and we know that that exists, and we can deal with it, So, and I think as well that we have to train our kids very, very early to let them know that that exists and how to face with that and how to deal with it, and to maybe one day we won't need to talk about it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Ariel, how about yourself? How can we stop that gender bias?
Well, I think I mean, part of it is through policy change. So part of it is through policies that ensure equity and ensure that that we have employment equity programs, that we have programs that ensure that people of all backgrounds have equal opportunity. But I mean, I got to tell you, here's just some stories. Like, I have one woman council colleague who got messages telling her that they didn't think her clothing was appropriate at City Hall. By the way, she was wearing a blouse, just like everybody else. Another councillor, not me surprisingly, who got a message, an email saying that with suggestions about her lipstick color, saying that it was perhaps too dark and that maybe she should match her lipstick to another councillor who wears a lighter color. I got an email from someone saying, love your videos after council, but you use the word just in the first sentence, and that's really problematic because it undermines your message. I swear to you, this man took the time to write me this message. So part of it, men, and I noticed that we only have one man on this call, my wonderful colleague, David Hill, but don't do that. Don't tell women what to wear. I mean, it's easy to say, how are we going to stop gender bias? But like, seriously, like, men out there, if any of you are watching, like, just don't criticize the way we look and what we wear and the sound of our voice or the words that we use, because I can tell you that my male council colleagues are not dealing with this. It's really quite something.
Tonight, and you're sounding wonderful as well.
Thank you. But seriously, it's a lot. It's a lot, right? Like, and you joke that I'm in the media all the time. Well, I have my photo taken non-consensually all the time, or from weird angles, and or like weird. I just had to get used to it, and you have to just kind of take a deep breath. But I mean, it's just, and women journalists get this too. I'm sure you see that, Sam. Like, just ridiculous criticism that is totally unwarranted and completely sexist. So I think we should call it out. I call it out when I see it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm on radio and TV 3 hours a day, so I do get my share of it as well. And I've been told, I've been told how to dress as well, so it drives me crazy. But thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing. Let's ask this question, and I look to you, Alvina, as really a future generation. But as you mentioned, you have those sisters coming up behind you. What advice would you give them if you had to sit down with your sisters and give them advice? What would that conversation sound like?
I would tell them to be true to themselves, and also try not to limit what they can do or listen to other people and what they have to say, or you can't do this because you're a girl and stuff like that. That we shouldn't let people belittle them because of the gender.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. I need to put that on a t-shirt or something. That's fantastic. That was wonderful. Renee, let me ask you this. When you have maybe a colleague come to you and maybe they're sort of that next generation and they're looking for advice from Renee Amilcar, who's just, broke so many barriers. What advice are you giving?
Get involved, even if it's 1 a.m. be passionate, and especially be bold. It's important, and it's important as well to find allies and to support women, and I think we can all play very, very a role to help all the women, and we have to do that, and we have to be this kind of example, and we have to go to people and say, okay, yes, you can believe, trust yourself, you can do it, and it's okay. It's important to make errors as well, and don't do it twice, but don't make errors twice. But it's important to go and go again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Beautifully said. And I'm coming for you, Councillor Chaucer, and wondering how you feel about the next generation of female leaders and advice you would give them. I'm sure you're going to get requests to hang out with you from high school students. And
I know, I love it. I'm happy to do it anytime. First of all, I feel like I have more to, like, okay, here's what I'll tell you. First of all, when I ran my campaign, I mean, I'm in my 40s, and I've done communications and advocacy for my whole life, but I've never organized an election campaign. The majority of my campaign staff and volunteers were much younger than me, and they knew exactly what they were doing, and I listened to them, and we won an election. So I am thankful to them. I think, first of all, we also need to listen to young people because they're smart and they know what they're doing. But I'm now in this hilarious position. I was the young one in the workplace for a long time, and now I have 2 permanent staff and 1 intern who are all like half my age, and I adore them. They're brilliant. And Renee, I do respect that you said get involved even if it's 1 a.m, but I have to tell them, eat your meals, sleep, take care of yourself, set boundaries. But I also just really want, one of the first questions I asked during the job interview was, what do you want to get about that? What do you want to get out of this experience? What are your goals? How do you want to make change? And I really, I enjoy learning from them so much, and I just want to support them in finding their voice, in the workplace. And I say that to young activists too. So I think that learning relationship needs to be reciprocal. But I'm always happy to share skills and contacts and suggestions if people want it. But I got to tell you, like, I would say it's like 50-50 reciprocal. I'm learning as much as they're learning from me, and I think that's really important. But I would say don't be scared to reach out to someone that you admire to see, if they'd be willing to work with you, or if you might be able to learn something from them. And just as Renee said, get involved in stuff that you care about. That's really my main advice. I never had a straight line. I never thought I would run for office. It kind of happened by accident at the end of many, many years of just being involved in community, being involved in community activism. Find the issues you care about and work on them with people around you. And that's how you make friends and build community too. Like, it's just a great way to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when we think about an equitable city, what's your vision, Alvina, when you think about maybe a decade or so from now? How do you see us changing as a city to become more equitable?
My vision for an equitable city would be seeing both men and women in higher power positions and having equal pay. Right now, like, there's a debate about how women sport players do not get the same pay as men. I think that would be like one of the first steps, like a vision to see like an equitable city. And like, if we start breaking the barriers and like stop the gender bias and like the stereotypes, it would give women and men the same opportunities, and we'll be able to achieve an equitable city that way.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. I look forward to that day. And let me ask you, Renee, what's your vision for an equitable city?
Definitely, an equitable city would be welcoming all people, regardless the culture, race, or gender. And it will be a place where people feel an equal sense of empowerment and belonging. And it's where the key position will be 50-50, 50 men, 50 women. And why not to put quotas in place to make sure that we achieve our goals. We have to make it happen. So we have to force that. So for me, this is an equitable city. Yeah.
I agree. I love Ottawa. We have some work to do, but we're getting there. Councillor Troster, your vision for an equitable city?
So I want to see equity mainstreamed into everything we do in the city. And a story that I like to talk about is in Sweden, the city of Stockholm and a bunch of other Swedish cities, they did a gender-based analysis of city services, and it changed the way they clear the snow.
Oh,
because
wow.
based on a gender analysis, they discovered, which wouldn't surprise you, that women mostly use sidewalks. Women are usually the ones walking their children to school. Women are more likely to live in poverty and therefore not have access to a private vehicle. So they changed the way they clear snow in Stockholm. They clear routes to school and sidewalks first. And in doing that, it had a spillover effect, because when you think about it, that helps frail seniors, that helps disabled people or anyone with a mobility device. It helps children. And at the end of the day, it makes for a better city. So, I'm not just interested in having equity kind of in this little corner in this special area. I want it, how do we build our roads? Are those equitable? How do we build housing? What services are available? Are those equitable? And so I really think that's the next stage, to not have equity siloed into one place, but to have it spread out across the city. Because I think it can change our city in some really wonderful ways. Another example is, the activism out of this Gotta Go campaign about bathrooms in public spaces. Really important for anyone with a child, really important for anyone with a digestive problem, really important just in general for people who are unhoused, or like, seriously, when you gotta go, you gotta go. So I'm really happy in this term of, in this budget, we were able to get some funding in there, even just to put porta potties in public parks. It's so basic, right? So again, it's through that equity lens that we can really improve our city. And I want to see us do that as much as possible. So equity is always a consideration. It's not a nice to have.
Absolutely. And I think, the example today of the motion that you passed in terms of intimate partner violence, it's one thing to pass a motion or talk about equity or talk about these things, and it's another thing to put things into action. And I think that's the key here, right? I think the time for just chatting is over. It has to be the conversation continuing, but action backing it up 100%.
Yeah, I mean, early in the term, one of the first things I did was bring forward a motion that I was thrilled was unanimously adopted to combat anti-trans hate. But I didn't just want to have a declaration. We added the 2S LGBTQ community to the Women and Gender Equity Liaison role, which I now inhabit. And then that also facilitated the opportunity to bring some of those organizations together and just start having conversations about budgets and funding and concrete needs. So I think it's really important not just to make statements. And that's why the motion that Councillor Cavan and I worked on is really empowering the city to take a look at, do our services help or do they hurt women who are leaving violent relationships, and how can we improve them? It really is so important.
Beautifully done. Thank you again for your leadership in that area. We have some amazing panel guests here today. And of course, Alvina and Renee and Ariel have answered all the questions that I've posed to them today so beautifully. I don't know, Councillor Kavanaugh, if you have anything you'd like to add tonight?
Thank you, Sam. Well, I'm enjoying this very much. And we're looking at people with very diverse backgrounds, which, and just, showing who they are and how they want to make a difference. And it's not just about themselves, it's about how they're reaching out to others. And I'm just thrilled, absolutely thrilled. From Alvina, helping your sisters and being a role model, that is fantastic. I have two younger sisters, and I don't know if they think I'm a role model, but anyway, they kind of boss me around. But it's a great concept, and it's this is what it's all about. We're sort of doing an analysis of where we are. That's what I think of it on International Women's Day. We're sort of taking kind of a pause and saying, well, what have we done and where have we got to go? And there's always things that have been done and we're proud of them, but there's always things that we need to do. And with our motion today on intimate partner violence, that was talking about, well, we never thought this was going to continue. We thought somehow this was eliminated because people became more aware of how terrible this is. It's not going away. And it scares me. It scares me when you are aware of it, people who've been through it. It's and we know that somehow we just didn't do something right. So as a society, and that's why it's important for municipality to understand that. So there's so much. And anyway, we have wonderful role models here. Absolutely. Renee, I'm absolutely thrilled you're here. And you are a role model. And Alvina, I hope you get to know Renee. She is amazing. And study engineering. Maybe you'll be the general manager next, because it can be done. And it makes me so proud that we have talented, wonderful leadership quality women in our organization. And it's catching. We're inspiring others, and that's what it's all about. I know there's a lot of young women. We're taping the show, so hopefully we can show it to others to show them that, hey, take a look at your, what you've done and inspire others and or be inspired by others. We're on both sides. It's just so fantastic. Anyway, I'm really happy that we've had this evening together. We were planning to make it a little bit fun as well. We actually have door prizes. And because we don't have a door, what we're going to do is we're going to have it so that you put in the chat numbers between 1 and 50, but everybody has to pick a different number. So if somebody, if you type in a number, then you got to make sure nobody else picked it. And I will randomly call out a number and we'll see. We've got 4 nice prizes. Very nice. They're local gift certificates for Britannia Coffee House. We've got 2 of those. And we also have 2 gift certificates for the Britannia Bakery. So we picked very local businesses operated by women, actually. In the case, well, it's a couple. One's a woman on her own, and it's pretty amazing. So,
Counselor, we also have a gift. Sorry, we have a gift card from the Pure Envy Spa that was donated to us.
Oh yes, and we have one from the Pure Envy Spa, which is another local business. So, so I'm going to.
So if everybody could choose a number from 1 to 50 and type it in the chat. Oh, I see we're doing that, and then the counselor will ask your phone.
Yeah, I get my phone. I asked Siri to pick a number for us. That's how it works. It's really cool. Yeah, and if we don't see it, we'll pick again. Okay, because obviously we're not going to get every one of them. Okay, are we ready? Has everybody done one? Just want to give everybody a minute. Alvina, and please join us to, you're eligible as well. Type one in.
She's got one there.
Oh, good. All right. Okay. Siri, pick a number between 1 and 50.
It's 37.
Anybody got 37?
Yeah.
Yep, Miranda.
Miranda, way to go. Good stuff. That's great. I'll do it again. Pick a number between 1 and 50.
The answer is 12.
Did I see a 12?
Roslyn.
Roslyn.
Oh, great. We got somebody?
Yes, Roslyn.
Rosalind, great. Congratulations, Rosalind. You're keeping track of it, right,
I am.
Georgie?
Yes.
Great. Okay, I'll do it again. Pick a number between 1 and 50.
The answer is 40.
Anybody have 40?
No, no
No.
40.
No 40? Okay, we'll do another one. Pick a number between 1 and 50.
That would be 8.
Yeah, read
yeah,
8.
Marlita.
We got one?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, and okay, so how many more do I have to do?
We have the 2 coffee house ones taken, the bakery one. We have another bakery one and Pure Envy Spa.
Okay, 2 more. Okay. This is for a bakery. Okay, pick a number between 1 and 50.
It's 14.
14.
I don't see 14.
Okay, we'll do another one. Pick a number. Whoops. Okay, sorry. Pick a number between 1 and 50.
The answer is 47.
Not this time. Try again. Pick a number between 1 and 50.
It's 48.
I'll keep going. Pick a number between 1 and 50.
It's 28.
Judith Ainsworth.
Excellent. Okay, we've got one more, and the last prize is
This is the Pure Envy spa.
Pure Envy. They're right on Richmond Road. And I believe it was an OC Transpo bus driver who retired, who started it, believe it or not. Okay. Pick a number between 1 and 50.
It's 42.
Well, that's the answer to the life, universe, and everything. If anyone knows Hitchhiker's Guide, the answer is 42, but it's not the answer for winning. Okay. Pick a number between 1 and 50.
The answer is 25.
Ooh, we have a 24. We should take that, eh?
Okay, I
Let's
think
just
we
go.
should take
Let's
the 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because nobody's on the other side.
Sorry.
Zara.
And I'll
Congrats.
ask those whose names were chosen, their numbers were chosen, if you could send me, I will look back, I'll probably have your emails because you registered, but if you want to send me a private message in the chat that with your email address and your home address, some of them are virtual, so I can email to you, but there is physical one that I can drop off to you.
That's great.
And
Wow.
you find me under assistant to counselor Kavanaugh because my name's not up there.
Yeah. This has been a very, very interesting evening. It's been a lot of fun and very thoughtful. So I appreciate everyone coming out. We're going to be putting this recording up on our a website so that people can enjoy it, because I think they're going to continue to enjoy this. Am I supposed to ask questions? Hold on a second.
I was just wondering, Counselor, if anyone in the audience has questions for either.
Oh, okay. Does
Ariel or-
anybody, if anyone has questions for the panelists? Do you want, we could put that in the chat, or?
We can put it in the
Open the
chat, or we can raise a hand and we can unmute.
Yeah. Okay. I think, Judith, you were asking the name of Georgie. Or does anybody have any questions? It's a shy crowd tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
I-
It's okay. A
I
lot
have
of
a
your male
question.
colleagues were at breakfast at 7 o'clock this morning, so I give
Yes.
everybody points for that. It was
Yeah.
International Day of being up way too early.
I do have a question for Vinay. I'm curious what the weather is like where you are.
Today it was pretty humid, 14 degrees, but very nice. No sun, but it was great. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
But I was inside anyway, so I didn't.
Yeah. Well, Renee, if you could please bring back some of that weather when you come back to Ottawa, we would really appreciate that.
I promise you. Okay, will do.
Thank you.
Okay. Hilda's promising to bring some of her male counterparts with her next year.
Wonderful.
Deal.
David.
Deal. It's good for everybody. Ariel, how many hours do folks sleep during the campaign?
Oh my gosh. Well, my kryptonite is that if I don't sleep 7 to 8 hours a night, like I'm absolutely non-functional. So usually I would just come home and be like completely collapsed and unable to talk by about 9:30. But I will say, otherwise I didn't get a lot of rest. Campaigns are intense. And it was a real learning experience, Teresa. You've done it before, but I'm a pretty social, verbal person, but
yeah,
learning the skill of knocking on doors and introducing yourself and asking people for their vote, like times 10 or 15,000 is really something you learn by doing. And by the end of it, I was just like, all I could see was the next door in front of me. Like I couldn't think beyond the next door, because otherwise the enormity of the task would just overwhelm me. But yeah, I felt really weird the day after the election that I wasn't knocking on anyone's door.
Yeah, I'm sure that David could relate, and I certainly can. And I've done it before. because I've campaigned, this is my fourth one, where I've been elected because I was a school board trustee and I knocked on doors then to twice elected and now twice elected here.
You kind of hear that it's the best way to learn things, and you sort of don't believe it till you do it. And then you go through the experience. And then now that I'm lucky enough to be a counselor, I walk down the street and I'm like, oh, I remember that building. That was the one with the weird carpet. And I remember that building. They were having the security problem. And I remember the dog that I met in that building.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a learning experience. And if we bring it back to being a woman, sometimes, people worried about me going out. What are you doing going out after dark and all that? Well, people were basically nice. There's only a few times that I've had issues, but not too bad. There's a question for Alvina. Is there a way for us to help other young people find their passion?
For me personally, I think the Boys and Girls Club is a very nice way to find your passion, because they have like different programs and like activities for people. Like, for example, I didn't know how to play pool until I came here. So like simple stuff like the Boys and Girls Club could actually help you find your passion. Or like going to your community centers, or like being involved in like school sports or like programs, activities like that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Marianne is talking about how we're wonderful role models. And in my working days, women in leadership roles were scarce, so there are few role models. My question is there a formal program in Ottawa for young women to connect with a mentor role model? Well, there's actually a few. Eco Voice has been doing things. I actually had a council session last year with young women being picked to fill the roles of council. And we'll see if we'll do that again this year. It's kind of, it's great to reach out to young women. I've also brought in interns from Pathways to Education program, the graduates of that program. That's a program that is a mentoring program for people to do well in high school, and then many of them go on to university. And I brought a couple of them into my office, and they've been hired by the city because they've got the experience. So every opportunity we can get to connect people is good. I love going to, I think the other neat thing to do is just to go into high schools and talk to civic classes, and let them know that we're there, give them a taste of real people with real life experiences. And I don't just mean politicians, but there's other things too, but it opens up their world to say, oh, wow, I could do that. Yeah, sure you could. So I think there's many different ways to tackle it. I think schools are a good way to do it, and break down the barriers that, there's a whole bunch of options out there for you. Look at Renee, look at Sam, look at Ariel, and see these, and look at Alvina. She's going to be great, by the way. I could tell. So these are people to be inspired by.
Lovely.
Yeah, and I know a lot of you women who are here, and I know you all have interesting stories too, by the way. I see a lot of familiar faces of people who've been inspiring in their own lives. I'll just say that. So that's great. Well, thank you so much, and particularly Renee for the time zone difference. You've had the world's longest day. Thank you. And Ariel, you've had a long day too. Getting up for the breakfast, making a speech this morning. And I was saying to everybody, oh, Ariel gets to make the speech today. I could just sit there and eat popcorn. It's great. But it's, anyway, we have lots of work to do. This has been a nice pause just to reflect on what's going on and continue to move forward. Anyway, thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of the evening. Take care.
Thank you
so
for
much,
doing
Teresa.
that, Councillor.
Bye.
That's great.
And
Thank
thank you,
you.
Georgie, for organizing. Yeah, thanks
My
everybody.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Bye.
Happy International Women's Day, everyone. Thanks for spending
Yes.
time with us.
Happy
Bye.
International Women's Day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.